More than an accessory, the untold story of the necktie. Every morning across the globe, a ritual unfolds. A man in a meticulously chosen professional look stands before a mirror, his movements deliberate and practiced. He selects a strip of patterned silk or woven wool, a seemingly simple accessory, and with a series of precise folds and tucks, forms a perfect knot at his throat. This object, the necktie, is a paradox. A completely non-functional item of clothing that speaks volumes about its wearer, signifying order, respectability, and adherence to a strict, unwritten code of conduct. It is the final flourish of a suit of armor designed not for battle, but for the complex social theaters of business and diplomacy. Yet, this very act of tying a knot connects the modern man to a forgotten and brutal past, a history steeped in the mud and blood of 17th-century European battlefields, where the tie was not an accessory of a gentleman, but the utilitarian gear of a soldier, a desperate form of protection against the horrors of war and the terrifying, indiscriminate spread of the plague. To truly grasp this transformation, we must abandon our preconceived notions of elegance and prestige and journey back to the heart of the 30 Years' War, a cataclysmic conflict that engulfed the European continent from 1618 to 1648. This was not a war of clean lines and grand maneuvers, it was a period of immense human suffering, where entire villages were wiped out by famine and disease, and death was a constant, looming presence. In this era of chaos, military forces often relied on mercenaries, hardened, brutal, and pragmatic soldiers for hire. One such group, renowned for their fierce loyalty and fighting prowess, were the Croatian mercenaries, who arrived in Paris in 1660 to serve King Louis XIV of France. These were not the meticulously dressed soldiers of a king's guard, but rugged, experienced fighters whose attire was a testament to practicality. Their uniforms were a mix of leather, linen, and wool, designed to be durable and functional under the harshest conditions. What caught the eye of the fashion-conscious French court, however, was a small, yet distinct detail of their military uniform, a simple, linen scarf, tightly knotted around the neck. The French, mesmerized by this foreign style, took the word for Croat, which was cravat, and corrupted it into cravate. The name stuck, and what was once a mere piece of battlefield gear began its transformation into a fashion icon. But the original purpose of this scarf was anything but decorative. On the battlefield, it served a number of crucial, utilitarian functions. It was a simple way to keep the collar of a soldier's tunic or jacket secured, preventing dirt and grime from getting into the neck area, which could lead to chafing and infection. It could be pulled up to cover the mouth and nose, offering a measure of protection against the dust and acrid smoke of gunpowder. Most importantly, in a period where the Black Death and other deadly epidemics were a constant and terrifying threat, the scarf served as a rudimentary sanitary barrier. In the absence of a modern understanding of germs and viruses, the prevailing medical theory was that diseases were spread by miasma, or bad, polluted air. A simple piece of cloth, saturated with aromatic herbs or oils, was thought to be a viable defense against these invisible poisons. The Croatian cravat was, therefore, not just a fashion accessory, it was a soldier's shield, a final, humble attempt to ward off a killer more fearsome than any enemy army. The French court, led by the Sun King, Louis XIV, a monarch obsessed with consolidating power through spectacle and style, was entranced by the cravat. The court's own fashions were a world away from the pragmatic gear of the Croatian mercenaries. The men of the court wore enormous powdered wigs, elaborate silks, and high-heeled shoes, their clothes designed to signal immense wealth and leisure. The rugged, unadorned cravat, in its simple, foreign charm, was a breath of fresh air. The king himself adopted the style, and in a society where fashion flowed directly from the top, the cravat became an overnight sensation. The transformation was immediate and dramatic. The simple linen and cotton of the mercenaries were swiftly replaced with the most expensive and exquisite fabrics the French court could find, delicate lace, shimmering silk, and finely embroidered brocade. The cravat's knot, once a simple fastening, became an elaborate, intricate puzzle of folds and ties, a symbol of the wearer's status and a testament to the skill of the servant who tied it. The cravat became so central to aristocratic life that a gentleman's skill in tying it correctly was considered a mark of his breeding and intelligence. The fashion had completely detached from its origins, becoming a performative, lavish display of wealth and social standing. The simple piece of cloth that had protected a soldier from plague was now a monument to the opulence and decadence of a king's court. For over a century, the cravat reigned in this extravagant form, but its story took yet another pivotal turn in the late 18th and early 19th centuries, thanks to the quiet revolution led by a single man, Beau Brummel. Brummel was no aristocrat by birth, but a trendsetter and a dandy whose influence on men's fashion was arguably greater than any king's. He had a deep disdain for the flamboyant excess of the previous era. His philosophy of dandyism was one of understatement and perfect form. Brummel believed true elegance lay not in flashy, expensive fabrics, but in a clean, perfectly tailored fit and a meticulously executed appearance. He popularized the starched white linen cravat, which he would tie with such a high degree of precision that the finished product was a work of art. The process, however, was anything but simple. It was a painstaking ritual that could take Brummel hours to complete, rejecting dozens of attempts to achieve the perfect, wrinkle-free knot. This new emphasis on simplicity and form over extravagance laid the essential groundwork for the modern necktie. As the 19th century progressed, the Industrial Revolution and the rise of the urban workforce made Brummel's intricate, time-consuming cravats impractical. The need for a simple, fast, and durable form of neckwear for the growing class of clerks, businessmen, and factory owners led to the cravat's final transformation. The long, narrow strip of fabric that we recognize as the modern tie became the standard. Its easy-to-tie knot, a direct descendant of the simpler knots Beau Brummel had championed. The four-in-hand knot, still one of the most common, was a product of this era, named after the gentlemen who tied their reins in a four-in-hand fashion while driving carriages. And so, the journey of the necktie comes full circle. It is a story of an incredible, almost unbelievable evolution. From the mud and blood of a 17th-century battlefield, a simple, life-saving scarf made its way to the gilded halls of a king's court, where it became a symbol of extreme wealth. It was then refined by a style icon who valued simplicity and form above all else, and finally, it was democratized by the forces of industrialization. The next time you see a person carefully adjusting their tie before a meeting, remember its silent, profound history. They are participating in a quiet, forgotten tradition, a final echo of a 17th-century Croatian mercenary, whose simple linen scarf was a crucial tool of survival in a world of chaos, and a distant, fascinating ghost in the machine of modern fashion. The tie may no longer protect us from disease, but it carries a legacy of survival and transformation that makes it one of the most powerful and unexpected artifacts of our everyday lives.